Caleb. Just wanted to make you a quick video to show you how I think they broke this saber the last time and how you can probably keep it from happening again. So when you get the saber, this is what it'll be like. It'll be all locked out, and as I'm sure they've showed you, if you just unscrew the button, then you can press it. The first time you press it, you'll hear what you just heard, which is the boot sound where it wakes up from a deep sleep. And the second time you press it, it'll come on. Long hold to turn it off, and if you hold it down for a long time while it's turned off, you can switch to the next sound font. And of course, you can lock it back out while it's on and no accidental turn-offs. And then you can just unlock it and turn it off. Now, you got your two blade set screws here. I already have them somewhat pushed in. Bear with me. Alright, so you get your saber in there. Make sure these are good and tight, both of them, if you're going to duel. If you're not going to duel, you can probably just use the top one. This thing can take side hits all day long. What's going to mess it up is if it gets a real hard hit on the end of the blade that pushes the blade up into the chassis. If ever this button will not spin when you try to spin it, and it feels like it's jammed up, it's probably because the blade has been hit or dropped face down, and now it is pushing the chassis itself farther down and binding up your button. So, to begin with, I'm going to show you how I recommend you take the chassis out and get it back in so as not to damage that button, because that button's obviously the weak point in this saber. So when your blade's out, you're going to be as gentle as you can be and go ahead and unscrew your button. And once your button's out, you can loosen your chassis set screw here. And once that's out, take the pommel off. I recommend that you use your blade, the flat end of your blade, to push in from the bottom and push the chassis out of the top, because it's a pretty tight fit. And then you can change your SD card, charge your battery, whatever you need to do, look at your crystal chamber, all that good stuff. And then when you go to put the chassis back in, you're making sure that the buttons are lined up, and start it off with your fingers. And then again, use the flat part of the blade to push the chassis in until you see the button line up. If it comes down and it's not perfectly lined up, you'll have to push the chassis back out with the blade, line it up a little better, and start again. So I'm just going to use the blade here to push the chassis down until I see the button line up. And then I'm going to screw my button back in. Nice and easy. And there's my saber. Screw it all the way down, and there's your lockout. Now, if for some reason your button is bound up and you think that the blade might have forced the chassis farther down into the saber by being hit too hard, first make sure that your blade set screw is loose, and then just ever so slightly use the blade to push up a little bit on the bottom of the chassis until you can move your button once again. And if you go too far, you can go to the other side and push just a little bit, and that'll unbind your button. Just be easy, because if the chassis gets forced down too hard, it will shear off that button again. That's exactly how I think that it got broke before. I think the blade got forced down into the saber too hard and it broke that button off. So once your chassis is in place, make sure you tighten down this screw really tight. And when you're putting your blade in to do some dueling or whatever, make sure that you use both set screws to the fullest of their abilities so as not to damage your chassis, because they are right up against each other right now. And like I said, side to side dueling, I don't think you would ever have a problem with. You just got to watch the stab motion or hitting it on the very end, and I think you'll be all right. All right, man. Good talking to you. Hope you enjoyed the saber.